Hello and welcome to Higher Ed Live, the live weekly web show all about the world of higher education. We're all about professional development, digital development, professional empowerment, digital empowerment. We're all about bringing you content that matters, helping you do your job and do them better. Today's episode is really exciting, so I hope you guys are ready, pen or keyboard in hand. I am your host, Seth Odell, as always. Let's say a quick thank you to our sponsors as we get the show off the ground today. Higheredlive is sponsored by Integral, the creator of the Schools app on Facebook. Be sure to check out their webinar series about how they can help you leverage Facebook to increase yield and retention. And that matters, guys. That happens next Wednesday, every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So we just sent a tweet out with that link. If you guys are interested in retention, check out what Facebook can do to help. We are also sponsored by Omni Update, the exclusive CMS sponsor of Higher Ed Live, and they are the leading web content management system provider for all of higher education. The company's web CMS OU campus is secure and scalable with great tools and features, deployment flexibility, and an awesome user community. In fact, it was the highest ranked CMS in customer satisfaction. That's pretty cool in the 2010 EDU Guru survey. So if you guys need a CMS, do not go to committee without thinking about Omni Update first. And finally, we're sponsored by Scavenger, a Google-funded mobile game about going places, doing challenges, and earning points. Guys, check out this great post, I'm sending a link up now, that Jeff Kurchik put up about what Facebook's acquisition of Gowalla means for higher ed. I got to give Jeff credit. Those of you guys that know, Jeff Kurchik is the university rep for Scavenger. He came on this show, like 8 months ago, and called the downfall of Gowalla, called a lot of things in location, a lot of interesting things happened. But he put up a really cool blog post that just kind of recaps where we're really at and what's really going on. I'm sending a link out to that right now, so props to him for doing that. That's pretty cool. Guys, today's show is all about Facebook EdgeRank. Now, if you don't know what that is, don't worry, because we're going to break all of it down. We got pretty much the best expert in the industry coming on to talk about it. But I'm going to give you a little tip. If you guys care about where you appear on Facebook, in people's news feeds, how content's distributed, how it actually reaches them, maybe you ever wondered how stuff really shows up in your news feed? How does Facebook decide what's good, what's not, what's buried, what's highlighted? Well, that's EdgeRank. We're going to break it all down today. Crazy amount of details. So sit tight. I'm really excited about that. But first, as always, we have a little something called the Weekly Five. 5 stories from around the world of higher education that are worth noting, reading about, thinking about. Guys, it's worth making sure you don't miss these stories altogether. Coming up first, Facebook pilots EDU exclusive groups for universities. Did you guys see this? It's pretty interesting. It's not a huge move by Facebook, but guys, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. They're announcing some new groups that people in higher ed can use. Now, right now, it's not open to everybody. It's only piloted by Brown and Vanderbilt, but it's essentially special groups on steroids, sort of special closed groups of people, just students, with their email addresses that can get in. I want to know this. This is my question to you guys. What the heck does Facebook have up its sleeve? Because Lord knows they don't need users right now. So why are they all of a sudden tapping into the higher ed market? Why are they finally noticing us and trying to provide something that helps? Are they just tapping into their roots? Maybe. I don't know. I'm leaving that to you guys to decide. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Coming up next, this is a Meet the Innovator interview we just posted over at Higher Ed Live this morning about incorporating video into the college application process. Now, the person that we talked to is from a company called My College Eye, but I'm just really interested in general in how video is used in the college application process. It's letting students speak their voices, not just write an essay, but actually put their face on camera and have something to say. So what I wanted to highlight it today is because I want to know if your institution is doing anything cool, different, or innovative with the application process. If so, tweet us over at Higher Ed Live. We would love to hear all about it. Coming up next is one of the best articles I've read in a while. It's, of course, from Audrey Waters from Hacked Education. She's also over at Inside Higher Ed. Brilliant writer. And she wrote this series of articles covering top ed tech trends of 2011. And this one's about the higher education bubble. Now, guys, the higher education bubble gets a whole lot of buzz. A lot of it justified, but not all of it. Read Audrey's post. It breaks it down in really great detail. Talks really, what are we talking about, the higher education bubble, making education accessible, affordable. That's why we're here, right, guys? To help people change themselves and change their lives and the world around them. It's a really great article, so please read it. Recaps the year very well. Hat off to Audrey for doing that. Next up, just a tweet from the man Mike Petroff over at Emerson. Really interesting stuff. Is they released 2,400 exclusive admissions decision at 11 a.m. and within 2 minutes, 1 in 4 students had viewed their decision already online. Within 2 minutes. That's crazy. I don't know if you guys are a little awestruck by that, but we might have to ask Mike to write a post about it. Come on, Higher Ed Live, do something, because I'm really amazed. That's talk about instant access, and I bet you anything that's mobile views too. Simple question: is your application for admission, is your admissions letter mobile friendly? Simple stuff like this makes you think. Thanks, Mike, for sharing the information. I think it's pretty interesting. And finally, just a nice blog post from Mallory Wood over at her marketing blog about being stuck in a rut as far as blogging and having something to say. Really, I like the post, but I love the comment string on this. Definitely check it out. You know, the reality is, guys, that, you know, we're getting bogged down with social media, and that's why I am here to say 2012 is going to be the year of filtered frequency. It's time to stop focusing on quantity, start focusing on quality, both for marketers, but also for ourselves. I think we really need to, at least myself, speaking for myself, I'm going to audit what I do online, the time I'm putting in, and find out where are the points that I'm learning the most, I'm growing the most, I'm being inspired the most, and where are the points where realistically, maybe I'm just kind of wasting my own time. I'm kind of giving myself an excuse, you know. I find sometimes that I spend hours reading online, but when am I reading great articles and when am I just browsing things? It's time to kind of audit ourselves and see where are those points where we're getting the most out of it. Filtered frequency is the term for social media in 2012. And finally, the unsolicited shout-out of the week, where we shout out any person, place, thing, or idea. Why? Because it's my show, and that's what you get to do when you have a show. You get to do that, and that's what I do. So this week is a big thanks to all the folks that supported the Rick Ragland Benefit Virtual 5K. For those who know that, you know, Susan Ragland in higher ed, you know, it's a person in our own community that needed some help. People stepped up. If you didn't follow the Virtual 5K, please check it out. It was not only, you know, really nice that the higher ed community came together to help one of our own, but it was pretty cool also the way they did it. The Virtual 5K was a cool thing. So, that being said, I was asked to pick the 3 prizes that 3 of the participants get, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So, what are the 3 prizes going out today? 3 of you, if you participate in the Virtual 5K, are going to win the iCade, which is really, really sick. You're also going to win the Joystick iPad Arcade Stick and a Star Trek Enterprise. I don't know what it is, but I love it. It looks pretty cool. It's a pizza cutter. Wow, that's pretty amazing. All of these prizes were donated by Think Geek, so hats off to them for participating. And let's go right for it, guys. Star Trek Enterprise Pizza Cutter. The winner of that is Karen Williams. Thank you, Karen, for participating. We appreciate your help. The Joystick It iPad Arcade Stick, whatever it's called, that goes out to Cindy Flegel. Cindy, congratulations. You are the winner of that. And then let's be honest, this is the one that everybody wants. And it's the iCade. It is a serious prize, and the winner of that is the one and only Robin Smale. Robin, congratulations on the winner on that. All those are going to be going out to you guys, and those were all selected completely at random, numerical choices, I promise you, totally at random. But thanks to everybody that participated. I really appreciate what you guys did. So let's get right into today's show, right? If you have things to say, let me know. Higheredlive. Again, we are talking all about Edgerank. And before we even get into what Edgerank is or what you need to know, guys, I'm telling you, we're going to be dropping a lot of information today. I'm going to be learning a lot, and I'm excited. And that's why I'm really pumped to bring on today's guest. His name is Chad Whitman. He's the founder of Edgerank Checker. Now, don't worry if you don't know what they are yet, because I promise you, you're going to be logging on after this show, and you're going to be signing up, and it's going to blow your mind what they do at Edgerank Checker. So without further ado, today's guest, Chad, what's up, man? Welcome to Higher Ed Live.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I really appreciate you coming on the show, being here. We got to start kind of big picture. We'll work our way down. I think we're getting to a lot of information today, but right off the bat, what is Edgerank?
It basically, it determines what you see on the newsfeed when you're on Facebook. So, when the Facebook populates the feed, what are you going to see? What are you not going to see? And what are they going to put higher or lower in the newsfeed for you?
Okay, so Edgerank is essentially how Facebook decides how things are displayed. Because obviously, I think a lot of us might not think about it, but if we're logged into Facebook, yeah, the reality is, it's not random, obviously. They're doing behind the scenes. So let's dive in. So, okay, we know that Facebook has an algorithm called Edgerank, and this is how they kind of decide what appears in your newsfeed. What else do we know about it? Do we know how this algorithm actually built, how it works, what's included, what goes into Edgerank?
Yeah, and in 2010, Facebook came out at F8 and said, hey, here's exactly the equation that we use. It's affinity times weight times time decay. And basically, it's 3 simple components that really create elaborate results.
Okay, so I got it up on the screen right now for folks that maybe haven't seen it. Affinity times weight times time decay equals Edgerank. So everybody, you got that written down, right? If you guys are watching, I sure hope so. All right, Chad, I got to back up. Okay, so what's affinity? Let's break this into each chunk right now. So what is affinity, at least according to Facebook Edgerank?
Basically, affinity is your relationship with the object that's created. So if you're a Facebook page and you're creating content, what is the relationship with that individual fan to your page? So what they're trying to do is build connections and understand these connections to show you things that you're most interested in.
So what goes into that? A little more. So it's how you're connected, but do we know a little bit more like, does that mean how many times you visit a page or how many of your friends are also fans of the page? What else do we know about affinity?
So Facebook has to track everything through interaction. So comments, likes, visiting their page, clicking their links, sending them messages, anything you can do to actually create something tangible in the Facebook universe is something that Facebook kind of records. So we just assume Facebook records everything. So if you do anything with that individual, click on their link, comment on it, like it, you're going to be building affinity with that brand or that page.
Now, is that the same thing if you're just like communicating with a friend of yours? Like, would I have affinity with just a friend of mine on Facebook?
Yeah, Affinity applies to Edgerank applies to everything within Facebook. So it's Facebook pages, it's your best friends, it's groups you're in, it's everything that you're engaging with. So anything that you interact with, and Facebook actually takes in when you list a relationship, maybe your brother-in-law or something like that. It takes that in consideration too. That just because your brother-in-law is, you already should have a higher affinity as well. So it looks at that.
This just came up today on Facebook. Someone was saying, I keep seeing like my sister's stuff really high. And so the reason would be most likely because they've actually listed their sister as a family member. So Facebook weights it higher. Is this also, this is one that might ring true. I'm going to be honest and admit this. Some people might not that are watching. So is this why when I stalk an old friend from high school's page or something, and then like 2 days later, their stuff is popping up as a top story or I'm seeing it more, that's because Facebook is essentially noting that I'm a stalker and kind of feeding my stalker need?
Yeah, I mean, it's people joke about ex-girlfriends and things like that. I mean, the page visits and you looking around. I mean, Facebook's tracking everything, and Facebook hasn't come out to say that affinity is, by page stalking or anything like that. But I would assume so.
Okay, so now, to be clear, obviously, too, we don't know everything about affinity. I mean, the information we're talking about is stuff that Facebook seems a lot more open than Google, but clearly they've never released, like, the formula, obviously, right? So a lot of this is, which we'll get into with what you guys do, is measuring and figuring out how are they making changes and relatively how it is affected, right?
Well, they released the algorithm, but they didn't release, the nuts and bolts of the different pieces. So they said affinity, weight, and time decay. And from here on out, we're kind of taking the community's approach with PageRank from Google on testing things and seeing how it all works, some of the details.
Gotcha. Okay, so now that covers what affinity is. I'm just pulling the formula back up so people can check it out. Yep. Pulling up a different version, they can take a look at it. Now that's affinity. So let's talk about what edge weight is, because that's the next factor in EdgeRank.
Right, yeah. So basically weight is kind of measuring what these different interactions are. Did you click on the article? Did you comment? Did you like it? We talked about maybe being just any interaction that you're doing with it. So that you can also talk about when the page is creating content. Was it a photo? Was it a video? Was it a link? So Facebook's kind of measures everything internally to say we kind of give more value or more weight to these types of interactions. So comments, likes, shares, photos, videos, the content type, just everything that's going on within Facebook.
Gotcha. So this is very interesting. So now the thing is about weight, obviously, again, we don't know exactly how it's calculated, but I'm not going to tip our hand too early, but we are in a little bit in this show going to be able to give people real tips, right, about what is weighted higher than other things, because whether it's a photo or there's no thumbnail or whether or not it's a like or a comment, you guys have done a lot of research and do have an idea of how some things are weighted higher than others, right?
Absolutely, yep.
Very cool. And that's why it's really exciting what you guys do at Edgerank Tracker, which we're going to get into in just a minute, because you're the guys that are kind of behind the scenes doing all this work to break it down. So we know affinity. I got it. Now it's times edge weight. I'm following you again. I'm pulling up the algorithm one more time. Time decay. That one seems a little more logical to me, but can you break it down just in case?
Yeah, we consider that one the easiest of the three. And basically time decay is just as something gets older, Facebook views it as less important. So if something was an hour old versus 2 days old, something that's 2 days old is going to have very little time left in it, and Facebook's going to basically give it little credit. And what they're trying to do is just kind of create recency and enjoying every time you come to the Facebook page and seeing what's happening. So that's kind of the easiest one for us to measure.
Cool. So I'm following so far. And then now this may not be a thing. I've been reading up a lot about EdgeRank, and one thing that came up too is relevancy was a term people threw around, but that's not officially part of the actual EdgeRank algorithm, right?
Yeah, Facebook hasn't come out to say anything. I mean, they haven't talked about it officially since the F8 2010, but it's one of those things that's speculative at this moment.
Cool. Okay, now, I mean, people watching probably get this already, but tell me a little bit from your experience. Why is understanding how EdgeRank works so important?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things that are really going on. There's kind of a cap that you have to kind of pass to make even the newsfeed. With the new hybrid newsfeed that came out right after the most recent F8 about a month and a half ago, you have to kind of get to a certain level to even get your content on the newsfeed. Some pages were reporting we posted an update and hardly anyone saw it. Why is that? It didn't necessarily reach that threshold to make the newsfeed. The other side of things, if you can kind of capitalize on it on EdgeRank, then you'll get prominent placement in the newsfeed. And that typically comes in with being a story being highlighted or being kind of displayed at the top of the list. So if one of your fans logs in to check their newsfeed, and your stuff would be displayed at the top above competitors.
Absolutely, and Mallory Wood said it best right here on Twitter too. EdgeRank's important because you want to appear in the newsfeed, and you want to appear at the top of it, because that's why we're there. We're not there to talk to ourselves. So EdgeRank is really the bridge between communicating with people or not. Because the reality is, the large majority of our audiences aren't going to our Facebook pages. Where we're interacting with them is the stream, but the problem is there's kind of a gatekeeper, and that's what EdgeRank is.
Right.
So it's really exciting and important. I see this to understand how it works so we can break it down. And that's exactly what we're going to kind of get into a little bit more, is looking at how we can increase EdgeRank. But before we do, if it's all right with you, I just want to back up a little bit so people have more understanding. Tell me about EdgeRank Checker, so that way people have an understanding of your background, because this is through EdgeRank Checker you guys have learned so much about this. So I want people to have a background while we're talking about what they can do to increase EdgeRank, get connected more. I want them to have a better idea of what you guys do, so they know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, I'm the founder of EdgeRank Checker, and it all started. I was doing social media management for a local ad agency, running dozens of clients, and I kind of struggled with creating content every day and understanding how to communicate with our fans. So, put together a little algorithm that I felt like had a pretty good understanding after F8 came out, and I started testing it. Really liked what I saw, met up with some peers, had them test it out, ended up making a little widget, putting it on the internet. Thousands of people started using it and say, hey, we like this, maybe tweak here, tweak there. And after many months of kind of tweaking it, we ended up launching a full product based behind it, just basically analyzing all the different aspects of EdgeRank. So if you go to EdgeRank Checker, you can connect for free and get a score, and it just kind of gives you a general indication of where you stand with EdgeRank. And then our pro version of our tool tries to help you increase that score and say, okay, you might be lacking here, you can improve here, or here's where you're succeeding, let's try to replicate that. So we provide tons of recommendations, like what time of day to post, what type of content your fans are engaging with. So we just try to dive into all the different little aspects of EdgeRank to help you improve it. So you can connect right now for a free score just to see where you stand. And then you can also take a 14-day money-back guarantee if you want to try out some of the pro features and just hop in and just see where you stand with what your fans want to connect with.
Cool, very cool. Appreciate the breakdown so folks can kind of have a better understanding what you guys do and how you know so much about this stuff. So let's get into what people really want to talk about today, which is, okay, I got the algorithm pulled up. We're starting to understand what EdgeRank is. We get that there's stuff going on behind the scenes. Now, first they're going to think, how do we game EdgeRank? And the answer is you can't game it. That's not what we're here to talk about today. But you can make smart decisions to be more efficient and make strategic tweaks that are going to get your stuff seen by more people, and it's more people in your community. So that's what we're here to do. So let's dive right in. I assume, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, now if we want to increase EdgeRank, which means we want to appear more often in the newsfeed, we want more top stories, we want to appear towards the top more often, we got to start by breaking down each piece of EdgeRank, right? So it would be like, so the first question then would be, how do we increase affinity?
Basically, with Affinity, you're going to try to create those relationships and get people to connect with you more frequently. So when we talk about EdgeRank, we talk about trying to increase engagement, and then engagement will increase EdgeRank, and EdgeRank will increase exposure. So if you can get people to interact with you, comment, like your content, and we're typically talking about fan pages, so what we try to do is get the fan page to ask people to comment on your stuff, tell them to click like, tell them to take these different interactions with you to help increase that affinity with your page. Cool.
Now, great comment. I'm not going to read word for word, but talk about, well, if you have bad content, clearly, you're going to have terrible results. But beyond that, then, is there some things that you can talk about? I mean, I don't know if this is shifting into weight, where maybe it's the type of content you're sharing or the way you're sharing the content. Because clearly, if you're not engaging people, you're not engaging them. But if you are, is engaging them with a picture different than a video, different than a status update, different than a poll? Does that fall into weight, or is that still affinity?
That's going to be back into weight, and that's going to, creating the right objects will then create affinity. So you got to remember what Facebook's trying to do is they want you to create great content that's awesome and engaging, and that's why they're rewarding it. So when we talk about like gaming EdgeRank, you're not really gaming it. You're just doing Facebook the way Facebook wants you to do it better and create better content and present it to your fans at the best way they want to consume it. So yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we talk about one thing's like, if you have a lot of mobile users, maybe you want to focus more on photos than you do videos. Even though videos typically weight a little bit heavier, you'll get more interaction on the photos, so you have so many people more connecting on mobile. So understanding your fan base and how they want to consume your content is what it's all about. So understanding, do they want photo, video, links, status updates? What do they want? That will increase your edge rank as well.
Okay, now one thing that you talked about, I've heard you talk about before, it's really interesting, is for those of you out there that are kind of representing a Facebook fan page, maybe for an institution, a college, university, sometimes you're kind of told what you have to do. You're told you got to put a link out on Facebook, you know, and that's a mandate from the top. We want a link out to this. So in theory, like let's say you're told you have to link dump on Facebook. You know, you were mentioning something about using a photo, incorporating that there are kind of ways that you can then partner that with positive edge rank kind of opportunities. Right. So can you dive into that kind of an idea a little bit?
Yeah, that's one that I faced with when I was doing the daily management. Is a client would say, "Hey, we're pushing this link. You need to post this link, and we need to get as many clicks as we want or we can." So your first reaction is to go on your Facebook page, click on link, upload the link, attach it, and just post it as a status type link. Well, what you could do is you can get creative. Maybe your fans really like video or photo, and maybe there's a way that you could either record a quick custom video and post it with a link in the video description, or post a photo of something that's relevant with a link in the description, because if you post it in the way they want to see it, you'll probably get more exposure, which will result in more clicks in the link. So you can be creative on, do I need to post a link? I can maybe sneak into a photo or video or something of that nature.
Okay, definitely makes sense. So when you talk about knowing what your audience likes, I mean, how do you figure out if your audience is going to respond better to photos or questions? Is it just a matter of just testing and measuring? I mean, how are we actually coming to that conclusion?
Basically, I mean, we try to measure it across we've had over 100,000 pages connect with us, so we're trying to monitor and just see what people are succeeding with. And so we publish on our blog what we kind of see as industry trends. But typically, yeah, I mean, basically it's just a trial and error. And our system helps dive into that process immediately. So when you connect with our system, we go back and look as far as we can back and say, here's where you succeeded and where you failed. And we try to present that for you immediately.
Cool. And then, again, obviously it's a matter of not just having data, but having data that can actually push you to making smarter decisions. Now, the last one is time decay. So you talked about that. That makes sense. I think that one's the one that everyone kind of gets it. Okay, sooner or later, if things aren't new, they're going to kind of fall off by the wayside. We're not seeing posts that are days old generally. Right. So that brings up a couple things. One, what are the things to know about time decay? And two, one of the things I love about EdgeRank Checker is the fact that you can actually see what are the best times of day to post, which I think is hugely valuable. I think probably a lot of folks aren't thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, you got to know, I mean, are your fans, do they fans want to engage with you at 9 a.m. in the morning? Are they already at work and they don't have Facebook access? Are they connecting with you at night when they get home from work? Are they connecting you at work? And understanding those times to post. And one of the features that we provide at EdgeRank Checkers, we do a thing called post lifetime, where when you're a pro feature or a member, we go in and we look at the lifetime of that post every hour to monitor how it's doing. And then we basically figure out when it died. So what you can do with EdgeRank Checker is you can say, our post was alive for 6 hours. That's when we're going to follow up again with our next post. So it kind of gives you an understanding of how time decay is affecting your individual post. To say, okay, we went in, we did the update, it lived for 6 hours. Now we're cool to update again and try to understand how many times a day you can update and how many times you should and things of that nature.
Very interesting. Now this brings up to the last thing too, which is then, this is kind of the broader thing before we get into a couple more tidbits. Is we're talking about increasing then, there is a thing about relevant content. It is about just providing good content. But I have a question and then a follow-up then, which is that if you want affinity and you want to connect, then you need engagement. So obviously if you have, what is the situation when you have 50,000 fans? I mean, if you're a large institution or have 100,000 fans, it seems like it could be a lot easier if you're engaging with a small department with people that are all connected. But for a lot of our colleges and universities, you might have 100,000 fans and they are all across the board, different interests. Right. So, I mean, how hard is that then for a larger page with a larger audience to kind of have a positive edge rank so they can get content out if so few people maybe are engaging with certain types of content?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a difficult challenge. And one of the brands that I typically point to in terms of kind of the corporate world who succeeds is Nike breaks all their pages up. They have the main Nike account. They have Nike golf, Nike basketball, Nike football, and they try to break it up. And they get a lot more success by breaking it up into golf because now they know what to say to their fans. And typically super mega pages like just the flat out Nike page would probably have pretty low engagement per fan just because of what you said. There's so many interests. Are people signing up for deals? Are they signing up for basketball? Are they signing up for new shoes? I mean, there's a million different things they could be signed up for, charities, whatever. So you're absolutely right. We recommend to try to, if you have a mega page, we recommend, make an alumni page, make a intramural page, whatever it is to kind of break it up into different sections that really focus in on what those fans specifically want from your entity.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And what I do want to highlight for me in higher ed is that, for a long time there seemed to be, at least, that there was a dialogue that it was all about consolidating in higher ed, and you wanted to have that one main page for your college or university. And now clearly you need that page, and clearly that page is valuable. But it seemed to me, at least from what I was seeing, that some schools were consolidating. They didn't want every single department to have their own page. But I think that's actually, now looking at EdgeRank stuff, is the wrong approach, because what you don't want to do is have a fragmented audience where you want to deliver alumni content, but really what percentage of your fans are alumni? Or you want to deliver content about this great thing involving the MBA program, but how many of your fans are either current students, prospectives, parents, or alumni of the MBA program? And that's really why I think it makes sense to have a large institutional page, clearly, and clearly there's a lot of value in that. But I mean, I personally believe, and I got to give Carlin Morris a big heads up. She wrote a great post about this on Guru a while ago. Hopefully somebody can find the link for me and dump it out. But why one page to rule them all, I think, is wrong. And I think that if you really want to have really positive engagement, it's by focusing by connections. Maybe it's not a school necessarily or a major. It's how it fits. I mean, for me, again, I don't follow my alumni. I'm completely disconnected from my alma mater, except for my old departmental Facebook page. And they've set one up, and I'm connecting with perspectives. I'm connecting with current students. But it's because everything they do is interesting to me. And I comment and I like it compared to I don't even fan their main page. This is a big shift in a lot of way people approaching with higher ed. Everyone's saying, if you're the main social media person on campus, for instance, maybe you're doing the main page, but you're leaving all those departmental pages off to the departments. And are you having conversations with all those little departments to make sure they're doing things right? Because the problem is, if you're leaving 25 social media people across campus who maybe this isn't really what they focus on or think about, that's a huge missed opportunity, because it seems like you could get a huge return on these niche pages and niche groups and niche connections that are really focused on highly targeted content. That's, at least for our industry, that's definitely a shift, I think.
Yeah, and I think that some of it is poor management understanding, and maybe the wrong sales pitches from consultants or whatever. A lot of times when I was doing the everyday stuff, my boss would come in and say, "Hey, I told the client we're going to double our fans, in the next 2 months." And why? What are we going to do that's compelling, that's going to create engagement? And it's that shift of that mentality of, okay, we have 10,000 fans, great, we could have 100,000, but we could almost engage all of these 10,000 fans every day. Let's just focus on the quality. And it's that shift of quality versus quantity kind of being upside down.
So let's dive a little bit into some tips and tricks and some things that you guys have found. I mean, one interesting fact is you guys have found a pretty direct weight difference between comments and likes. Is that correct?
Yeah, we did a study to kind of look at, Facebook recently shared clicks with us to say, how many clicks does a link type receive. And so what we did is we went through and looked at kind of how many clicks a comment generated or a like generated, and just to give people kind of a general idea of what a single interaction could result in. And what we found was that comments basically resulted in 4 times the amount of clicks than a single like. So I mean, that kind of is a little bit of a piece of evidence that comments do in fact weigh heavier than likes. And one rule of thumb that I typically tell anyone with anything with Facebook's EdgeRank regarding weight is the more time it takes you to either engage with the content or create the content, it typically is going to have more weight. And what I mean by that is it's going to take a lot longer for you to film a video than it is to take a photo. So we typically see more weight with photo or video than photo. Same with comments. It's going to take you a while to come up with the praising comment or saying something witty, whatever it is you're going to do, than it is to click like. And just the same it's a little bit more difficult to click like than to just simply anonymously click the link. So we basically find the more time you invest into the content, or your fan invests into the content, the more weight that action is going to receive. That's
really good advice, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, the cool thing is when you think about something like that, there are tangible takeaways. So, if comments are 4 times more valuable than likes, and then the more they're commenting, then obviously the higher your edge rank, the more you're appearing. Just one example, and I've mentioned this before on the show, guys, so bear with me, but my favorite Facebook page of all time is a page called Hidden LA. And what they do is they take questions posted on their wall and they repost them in their own stream and ask an open-ended question to their fans. So somebody would say, you know, I need a Thai restaurant in West LA that's open late on Saturdays. And they'll post it, and we'll say, what's your favorite Thai restaurant? And then out of their, 200,000 fans, people just start streaming through comments because they're asking a question that matters to everyone. Again, though, this goes back to your niche group. What questions can you ask your Facebook community that resonates with everyone? Something like, a group about people living in a certain city. Clearly, you all live in that city. But could you repost questions? I mean, you do see this stuff all the time on our walls when a freshman comes in and what's a good place to get lunch on the weekends near campus or other things. Right. Taking that, instead of leaving that question on the wall so people have to go to the wall to see the question and then to answer it, you can repost it, and realistically, you can get that fan their answer, you can engage everyone, and increase your edge rank. So it does seem like there are really cool, tangible examples like that where we can repost a question in our stream, where we can take this information that you guys are kind of providing for us, you're finding out, and really make tangible decisions that'll increase our edge rank, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we tell people all the time, take a look at your fans and see what they're doing. Are they creating content for you? Can you repurpose it? Look to the fans. Sometimes they have the best content out there. And one thing, talking to the people in the bookstore or something like that and say, what kind of questions are you receiving? Can we repost some of those? Can we answer those? There's a ton of opportunities. When we kind of did consulting with retail stores, we said, I want all the retail employees to give me at least one question they heard throughout the day so we can pick some content to rebroadcast to our fans. So, I mean, I think that's a great tactic.
Cool. Very, very cool. Interesting stuff. Are there any other tips you can think of that are or just examples where you're talking about how comments are weighted 4 times more than likes? What are some other takeaways, some information that you kind of give people? Because once people, I think, realize that you guys are the ones that kind of really have an understanding of EdgeRank, I'm sure they kind of knock on your door a lot asking for advice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing that's super simple that a lot of pages ignore is a lot of times just telling your fans how you want them to reply can be huge. For example, one tactic a lot of people like to use is if they'll say, a statement like it's great outside. If you like it, click like. If you disagree, comment. And so they're able to create engagement by people who agree with them by clicking like, and people who disagree with them by commenting. And it's as simple as just telling people, if we want you to do this in order to signify that, or if you post a photo that's really cool that you want them to share with all their friends, tell them, hey, if you like this photo, please share it with your friends. A lot of times Facebook fans, they just don't quite think of, they're like, okay, this is a cool piece of content, but I don't know what to do with it. Where if you give them a little bit of direction, it's that call to action type mentality. A lot of times they'll take it and that'll build your edge rank. So, I mean, that's something super simple. It's just, hey, if you like this photo, click like.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Now, do you have any, we talked a lot about weighting different content. Do you have any information on polls at all? That's kind of a newer one that Facebook's rolled out that, I personally don't have a like for it at all, but I don't know if it works. How do they weight polling? Do you think they'd look at polling as a like or a comment, or is it something that's still kind of unknown at this point?
They count anyone who interacts with your poll as a storyteller, which basically is anyone who can create that viral effect on your page. So it's like if I answer the poll question, it might show up on my friends' feed that I answered this poll question, and then they might answer it. So Facebook counts it as important in the sense that it's a storyteller. The problem from us investigating it is that they didn't release the whole poll information just about a month ago, and it's still kind of spotty at best. So it's really hard to tell what it is. But I do know if you do the right question and you get a ton of answers and whatnot, you can build edge rank that way. It's hard to see how much, and I don't think it's like a top-notch one, but I would say it's somewhere in the middle. But it's still, the Facebook's data has been spotty at best on understanding it.
Now, talking about spotting this with Facebook, there are some things that have been flipping and changing clearly. One thing that you guys broke that went pretty big that you've been talking about was using third-party API and using things like Hootsuite to post for Facebook. Now, there's a whole almost scandal at this point. You guys kind of broke this story. It went huge. People were following it. I was following it. Let's put it this way. If you guys use a Hootsuite or anything else to post to Facebook, listen to this story because it got crazy. But do you mind just diving in and telling us where it started, how everybody freaked out, and how Facebook responded?
Okay, so, being in this, there's this little group of EdgeRank experts that, I talk with and stuff. We bounce ideas off each other and theories and whatnot. One of our leading theories was using something like a third-party API, which could be a variety of third-party platforms, not just Hootsuite, TweetDeck, and all the other ones. But basically, we had this theory that using it decreased EdgeRank. So we set out one day to figure that out. So we published a study, and we basically found that engagement was down over 80% when you use any third-party platform at all. And so it got a lot of press and went on Mashable, went on all the big magazines and whatnot, and it caused quite a stir. And a lot of people were angry, but most of them had ties to being affiliated with a third-party platform. But we don't really care we just wanted to help people understand what's succeeding, what's failing. We really had no incentive to knock down any of these third-party APIs, but So anyways, everything, and a lot of people agreed with us, and a lot of consultants and whatnot said, we've been telling our clients this for a while, and everything freaked out, and there was all this, whatnot happening. Facebook unveiled the new news feed, and around that same time, a prominent third-party API developer posted in the developers bug area that we all kind of complained to Facebook about things that we're working on, said, hey, we have a huge impact right now when we publish through our platform. We're getting horrible impressions and horrible exposure, and obviously that's going to be tied to EdgeRank from when I saw that. So we kind of saw that as a token of this might be 100% true, because Facebook didn't comment on it, no one really commented on it. So then Facebook replies to this bug saying, yes, in fact, there is a bug going on here, and we're going to fix it. And so they worked on it, and so we kind of found that as validation that the bug or the issue that we discovered was in fact true. And then so we decided to give it a follow-up after Facebook claimed to have fixed it. And after a follow-up, everything looks equal, but it's super preliminary because we only had about 2 weeks worth of data to truly analyze. But that super preliminary look is looking like it's back to an equal playing field, but I'm still a little bit on the fence. But we're probably going to follow up again maybe in a couple of weeks to try to hammer this out and solve it for once and all for all. But to summarize, you're probably safe, but if you see strange numbers, kind of question yourself. Was it because of the content or was it because of my platform?
So I mean, first off, hats off to you guys for figuring that out, doing a lot of information, doing a lot of homework, and getting Facebook to respond kind of and make these changes. Flat out, if people are watching the show right now and they use like a tweet deck to post to Facebook, what would your professional advice to be? Would it be to keep doing it but watch the numbers? Would it be to switch? What would you tell them to do?
After this preliminary research that we did, I would say if you find value in using it, and it's not because you're just lazy to not use Facebook.com, then keep using it. If it's just because, I don't know any better, just go to Facebook.com and do it. Just because I know that that's safe. But I'd say odds are you're good. If you find value in like the analytics or the reporting or something like that, then just keep doing it. But just keep an eye out on those numbers, and every once in a while try one just on Facebook.com to see what those numbers come in as, and just be kind of weary of anything outside of Facebook.com. I mean, I think it's only safe to only trust the brand that you're working with.
Totally. Now, here's the big question, because it came up in that story you just told about, the big changes that we all saw this fall with Facebook, not only redoing the news feed, but adding the ticker, and now the scary fact that you're in the ticker. First off, I don't even know, I have a lot of questions to ask. Do you always appear in the ticker? If you're always in the ticker, are you always in the news feed? Talk to me about all the changes you guys have seen in the last couple months. Loaded question, but let's start getting into this, because, I mean, it seems realistically you guys have been following it from the beginning, but a lot has changed.
Yeah, one thing that's kind of disappointing with Facebook's data, the way they report it, is they don't break up the ticker or the feed or anything like that. So they kind of present it as, hey, you've just got exposure through these kind of areas. So we kind of have to work to kind of get around that. But basically everything you're doing is going to go on the ticker no matter what. That's supposed to be the fire hose stream of just all information going on. And then in the newsfeed area, that's going to be, if things with really low level EdgeRank aren't going to get exposure, things with high level are going to get highlighted and put to the top. Things that are in the middle are probably going to be, you maybe have to scroll down to see them. So that's kind of where it is right now, and understanding it is always going to be changing. I do know, though, as we go forward and more content starts being created in Facebook, and as you've probably seen, Spotify's integrating, Netflix is soon to integrate, Hulu. As they all start integrating, their content's going to be in the newsfeed too, so that area is going to be super competitive. So you're really going to want to really focus on EdgeRank so that you don't get kind of pushed out with the noise being behind Spotify or all the different things that are happening. And so it's going to be important to get in there. So the news feeds, though, it's where you're going to want to focus. The ticker, that's going to be real hit or miss, especially as more and more content comes pouring through there.
Yeah, it does seem like it's getting more and more crowded, and it's really, really competitive. But that is also why it's more and more important to talk about this. So just a general question. A couple tweets came out, said people are looking at, some third-party vendors to help them with some of the stuff. And a lot of people aren't as familiar with some of the EdgeRank stuff and the issues you guys had come across with API. Why do you think it is that EdgeRank itself isn't talked about so much? Is it the fact that it's just an algorithm and it sounds like math and scary? Or is this just that, you got to really kind of, give a crap to look into this and really kind of understand how it works? Because it still seems like it's something that's not a household term with all, online marketers quite yet.
Well, when I first heard EdgeRank and I put together this little algorithm and whatnot, I quit my day job and focused on it solely because I think it's going to be the next SEO in my opinion. Now, obviously, I'm biased because this is my job, but I wouldn't have quit my job if I didn't think that it had a huge opportunity to become the next SEO. And I think that if Facebook's one search revamp away from being the next Google, AOL, I mean, taking the entire internet experience. I mean, they have so much time on site and page views that there's just so much content, and that's where all the advertising dollars are going now too, that there's just so much opportunity there, and I think it's going to be the next big wave. The reason that it hasn't really gotten a lot of exposure is I'm not quite sure. I know Facebook doesn't, if they get asked about it, certain engineers don't know about it, certain engineers refuse to comment, so it's kind of one of those things that, but the way I always relate it back to is the early days of Google with their PageRank stuff. I mean, Google basically said, we have this thing called PageRank, we're not really going to tell you all the details, but it's out there and that's what's making the search results. And I think we're still in that early stage of back when everyone just started to get into search engine optimization and understanding how PageRank was affecting their search results. The people who really capitalized it then, now when you type in shoes, they're number one. When you type in insurance, they're number one. The ones who ignored it, they're on page 20. And that's how I feel this industry is moving toward.
Now, we had a question come in that's a pretty interesting one, asking about, will things like Spotify and Netflix automatically go in the news feed? And I'm going to expand it a little bit and say, yeah, does Facebook go in and manually manipulate for any specific content type? Like Spotify, would they go in and say, we're going to give Spotify automatically like a higher edge rank than other things? Do they kind of play that gaming within certain applications or certain content type on their own side?
Definitely. We always tend to see an increase on anything new that they're doing. That typically, when they first did Facebook questions, those were through the roof. First time they do any sort of thing that they're trying to push, they want check-ins were huge when they first pushed that out. And the reason being that I think is that they want to get more exposure, more users trying out that new feature to understand how that feature is going to succeed. So right now we see a huge explosion with Spotify and Washington Post and all these different things that you're starting to see in your newsfeed that aren't, your friends' photos from the night before. It's stuff that people are doing live, and that all that stuff is going to definitely have a higher weight up front. I think in the future it'll start to decrease because I think people in the long run will want to see more of their friends' content than their friends' playlist. Maybe there'll be a separate section or something of that nature. But for right now, you're going to see a really heavy weight on Spotify stuff, really heavy weight on Washington Post stuff. I mean, when I log into Facebook, almost every time I see Washington Post, my friends who are reading their content, number one immediately, or Spotify or whatever it is. And I can tell that there's definitely a weight. The problem from our side as Edgerank Checker is we don't have anything any way to analyze those interjections in the newsfeed. We can only analyze from the page perspective, but I can promise you they put extra weight on things that they want to kind of internally push.
Now, given that fact, which is a pretty interesting one, I mean, do you think it's worth marketers chasing those new features? I mean, because in theory, as opposed to sitting back and saying, I wonder if Facebook check-ins will take off, if you had jumped on it, you would be increasing your edge rank. So, yeah. I mean, I guess it's a question of if you're engaging your audience with high-quality content using this new feature, but I guess, that is an interesting thing to think about.
I mean, if you were an organization that had an awesome developing team and you had the perfect, like a good site, maybe a news site or something like that, and you could jump into that opportunity to integrate with the Open Graph immediately, I would say by all means jump on anything new Facebook's doing because they'll give you that extra push. So anything you see them do, try it out and see what kind of response you get. But if you have a development team behind you that can get you onto the Open Graph, which means that Spotify type integration, do it.
Now, one other thing I wanted to clarify for people so they know too is that EdgeRank is something that's custom for each person in the sense that. So just can you dive into a little bit about that? Because I want to make sure people understand that it's not like we increase our EdgeRank and suddenly all of our fans are seeing our stuff in their feed or they're not. Then that's kind of the complexity of something like this.
Yeah. So we try to simplify EdgeRank at Edgerank Checker, and what we provide is a simple score, and it's kind of the average effect of EdgeRank across all of your average fans. And the reason we do that is to help people just kind of digest this concept of EdgeRank to understand it. And so a lot of people say, well, wait a second, EdgeRank is per fan, per object, per, it's very intricate. So what we say, even if we knew it per individual relationship, you'd still probably end up averaging it out and looking at how the average effect is over the long run. So it is per object and per person, so you're kind of engaging with all this stuff individually. But where it starts to really come together is if you're creating more EdgeRank with that object, you're probably creating more affinity for the next object. So when you kind of look at it all from the macro view, it really doesn't necessarily matter as long as you're creating affinity, creating the right content types, and doing all that type of stuff. But if you look at it at the micro level, you're looking at, person A liked this content, and that created their affinity by this much, and that has a certain weight, and it gets really intricate. But as the kind of the social media manager, there's not a ton of value in necessarily knowing that. So we try to dive into that a little bit deeper into our platform with different things like post grading, where we look at the intricate different things that happen in here, where these new commenters versus old commenters, was the content type A, B, or C? Was it posted at this time of day? Could it have been posted on a Wednesday instead? All those different things. But yeah, it's between the user and the actual object. So it gets a little detailed, but we tend to just tell marketers, hey, take a step back and just make sure you're creating good content at the time people want it, and you'll have the average effect of Edgerank across all your users.
And I think that is a great place for us to kind of wrap up today, which is the best point, that as in-depth as you can get with this stuff, it does come down to fundamentals. And that's why what I love about EdgeRank is that you guys do, EdgeRank Checker, sorry, you do simplify EdgeRank in a way that's consumable and shareable within your own office. It's something that someone who's not the social media person can start to understand. And I think it's really important to have these fundamentals and also have this detailed knowledge and kind of bring them together to make smarter decisions. So listen, Jen, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. This has been an absolutely awesome show, one I've wanted to do for a while. Do you have any last-minute tips, tricks, thoughts, or takeaways you want to share with today's audience before we sign off?
I mean, EdgeRank, in my opinion, is here to stay. It's only going to continue to grow. Just monitor how Facebook's growing and how much time on site and page views they get. And so the biggest thing is just seriously think about the content you're going to put out there and make sure it's what your fans want. If it's a Wednesday afternoon and you have nothing important at all and you can't think of anything cool to say, it's probably better just to leave it at that and do something awesome the next day. So it's so cliche to say content is king, but Facebook rewards successful content, and that the reward is EdgeRank. So
awesome. Well, hey, listen, thank you so much, Chad, for coming on today's show. I cannot thank you enough. It's been a real learning experience, and you're welcome back. Anytime you guys have anything else going on, I'd love to have you on again. Yeah,
and if anyone has any questions, you can tweet me at Chad Whitman or at EdgeRank Checker, and I'm glad to help.
Awesome. Well, listen, Chad, thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much for watching Higheredlive. I got to be honest, it's my last show of 2011. Now, it's not our last show. Fran Zablocka is going to be coming on next week to do a special show on LinkedIn for alumni. He's filling in for me because I saw a great post he had the other day. I asked him to jump on and host. We had some tech issues, whatever. Guys, next week, next Thursday, 7 p.m., Paul Pruitt and Fran are going to be talking about LinkedIn for alumni. Please watch. But otherwise, I'll be honest, we're taking the last 2 weeks off of the year, and we'll be back in January. Not only with a huge show January 5th with the one and only Audrey Waters from Hacked Education Inside Higher Ed coming right onto our show, but we're going to have three major announcements the first week of the year for Higher Ed Live. Big things are coming. I can't thank you enough for tuning in today and being a part of this network. It is absolutely a joy to come on each and every week and bring on guests just like Chad to give you guys content and information that can help you do your jobs better and be empowered to do what you guys already do so well. So thank you guys so much again, and I will see you guys in January. But until then, you'll find me on Twitter, and do not forget to tune in next week for our great show all about alumni and LinkedIn. Take care.